I used to believe I had it all, a steady career, a loving wife, and a family that, despite its flaws, was worth every sacrifice. My name is Daniel Carter, and for years, I devoted myself to building a life of stability, a life where my wife, Lisa, could comfortably stay at home with our two kids, Ethan and Ava. They weren't biologically mine, but I never let that matter. Their real father had vanished long before I ever stepped into the picture, and I vowed to be the man they could always count on. We lived in Seattle, in a well-furnished suburban home Lisa took great pride in decorating, not for warmth, but for the aesthetic she projected online. That was Lisa's world. Social media, validation, and an endless obsession with curating the illusion of perfection. Her sister, Jessica, was no better, always flaunting her lifestyle to a faceless audience that she thought worshipped her every move. And at the core of it all was their mother, Margaret, a woman who lived by one mantra: family is only as strong as its image. It was exhausting, but I put up with it. For the kids. For the belief that, underneath the obsession with optics, there was love. Our family vacations were an annual event, a summer trip to Hawaii, something we had done every year since Ethan was 4. It was the one tradition I clung to, a time where we could let go of the filtered perfection and just be together. I had booked the flights, arranged the hotel, and even planned a few surprises for Ethan and Ava. A telescope for Ethan's love of the stars, a handcrafted ballet slipper necklace for Ava, who had been practicing endlessly for her recital. The kids were ecstatic, counting down the days until our departure. And I was hopeful. Hopeful that, for once, this trip wouldn't be about pictures for Instagram or boasting about our luxurious stay. Hopeful that we could just be a family, without pretense. But hope is a dangerous thing, because that trip didn't go as planned. It shattered everything I thought I knew about the people I had built my life around. It revealed the ugly truth I had refused to see. And it started with a single text message. Seattle-Tacoma International Airport was bustling with travelers, families, and business professionals rushing to their destinations. I arrived early, wheeling my suitcase toward the check-in counter, excitement thrumming beneath my skin. This was the moment I looked forward to every year, the beginning of our annual Hawaii trip. The kids had been buzzing about it for weeks, Ethan eagerly talking about exploring tide pools and Ava daydreaming about dancing in the sand under the stars. Lisa had spent the past few weeks meticulously planning outfits and researching Instagram-worthy spots. She had even scheduled a professional photographer to capture our perfect vacation moments. I had brushed that part off. It was annoying, sure, but I had grown used to it. If it meant we got a real family vacation, I could deal with a few staged photos. I had even gone the extra mile this year. Tucked inside my carry-on were 2 special gifts: a science kit for Ethan, tailored to his endless curiosity, and a delicate silver ballet slipper necklace for Ava, something to remind her of how proud I was of her dedication to ballet. I had spent weeks planning every detail, making sure this trip was something they would always remember. I stood near the departure screens, phone in hand, checking the time. 9:15 a.m. Our flight was set to board in an hour. I tapped out a quick message to Lisa. Me, just got to the airport. Where are you guys? No reply. I frowned. That was strange. Lisa was always glued to her phone. Maybe she was distracted with the kids. 10 minutes passed. 15. My chest tightened. I called her phone. It rang, and rang, and rang. No answer. A pit formed in my stomach. Something was wrong. I opened our family group chat. Maybe she had texted there? Instead, my heart nearly stopped beating at what I saw. Lisa's name flashed on my screen, her latest message sitting there like a bomb waiting to go off. Lisa, this trip is for real family only. My breath hitched. I blinked, rereading the words, my brain struggling to process what I was seeing. Real family? I swallowed hard, scrolling down to see another message. This one from Jessica. Jessica, take care of my kids and the dog. Bye. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. Everything around me blurred. The noise of the airport, the distant chatter of travelers, the beeping of announcements. I stood there, frozen, my hands gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. This had to be some kind of joke. Some cruel misunderstanding. I immediately called Lisa again. No answer. Jessica? No answer. I switched tactics and called Lisa's mother, Margaret. Surely, she wouldn't be a part of something like this. Straight to voicemail. My stomach churned. They left me. They actually left me. I had spent years being the provider, the father figure, the man who stepped up when their biological dad didn't. I had been the one to wake up in the middle of the night when Ava had nightmares. I had been the one to teach Ethan how to ride a bike, patching up his scraped knees when he fell. And now? I wasn't real family. The betrayal burned through my veins like acid. I could see it now. Lisa and Jessica sipping cocktails on the beach, laughing at how easily they had discarded me, posting pictures with captions like, "Family First Redheart," while I was left behind to be their free babysitter. Rage clawed its way up my throat, but I forced myself to swallow it down. I could feel the eyes of strangers passing by, their oblivious lives moving forward while mine had just imploded. I could have stood there forever, wallowing in humiliation. I could have called them, begged for an explanation. I could have gone home, licking my wounds in the silence of an empty house. But I didn't. I walked straight to the ticket counter. A woman in a neatly pressed uniform smiled up at me. "Good morning, sir. How can I help you today?" I took a deep breath, gripping my suitcase handle. "I'd like to book a new flight," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. "Of course. Where to?" I exhaled. "Anywhere but home." The woman raised an eyebrow, but didn't question it. She started typing, listing off destinations, but I barely heard her. My mind was already racing ahead. I wasn't going to cry about this. I wasn't going to beg for answers. No. If they thought I was disposable, they were about to see just how wrong they were. I pulled out my phone, my hands no longer shaking, and started making calls. Not to Lisa, not to Jessica, not to Margaret. Instead, I called a private investigator. I called a lawyer. I started documenting everything. They wanted to play dirty. They had no idea who they were up against. And by the time they landed back in Seattle, the world they had built, the perfect family, the staged love, the carefully curated image, would start crumbling around them, brick by brick, just like that. I sat in the dimly lit hotel room, the glow of my laptop screen casting eerie shadows on the wall. I wasn't in Seattle anymore. I had taken the first available flight out, Las Vegas, of all places. It wasn't about the city itself. I just needed to be somewhere I could think. Somewhere I wouldn't be surrounded by the ghost of the life I thought I had. The betrayal still sat like a heavy stone in my chest. Lisa, Jessica, Margaret, they had planned this. They had made a deliberate decision to leave me behind. "This trip is for real family only." Those words had seared into my brain like a brand, a cruel reminder of how little I truly meant to them. But I wasn't going to sit here and drown in self-pity. No. If they wanted to play this game, I was going to change the entire rulebook. The first thing I did? I hired a private investigator. I knew exactly how this vacation was going to play out. Lisa and Jessica would spend the whole trip plastering their fake, picture-perfect lives all over social media. But I wanted the truth. The real, unfiltered, behind-the-scenes truth. I had the investigator stationed in Waikiki Beach, where they had booked their resort. His job was simple. Document every move they made. Record their interactions with the kids. Or, more likely, the lack of them. Capture how they really acted when they thought no one was watching. If they were sipping cocktails, ignoring Ethan and Ava for the sake of taking the perfect sunset photo, I wanted evidence. If the kids were left in the hotel room while Lisa and Jessica partied at some influencer event, I wanted timestamps. I was building a case, and this was just the beginning. The next step? Gathering my own proof. I went through my phone, scrolling through years of pictures and videos. Not the polished family portraits Lisa had insisted on, but the candid moments. The ones that told the real story. Ethan's science project that Lisa never showed up for. Ava's first dance recital, where Lisa spent more time on her phone than watching her daughter. The countless nights Lisa had worked late, while I tucked the kids into bed alone. Then I started looking at the social media facade she had carefully crafted. Her Instagram was flooded with pictures of Ethan and Ava, always captioned with some variation of, "Being a mom is my greatest joy." Except I knew the truth. I had the receipts, the moments she didn't post, the way she would hand them an iPad and disappear for hours, the nights she scrolled through her phone, completely ignoring them, the vacations where she spent more time posing than parenting. I screenshotted everything, every lie, every contradiction. I was preparing for the day of reckoning, a day Lisa and Jessica weren't even aware was coming. And then, I made my final move. I called a lawyer. I explained everything. How Lisa had abandoned the kids without a second thought. How I had been their only real parent for years. How I had evidence to prove that Lisa was unfit to have custody. "Are you looking for full custody?" the lawyer asked. I hesitated for only a second. Yes. Because at the end of the day, Ethan and Ava deserved better than a mother who saw them as accessories. I spent the next few days moving like a man on a mission. While Lisa and Jessica were sunning themselves on a tropical beach, I was building an ironclad case. The private investigators sent daily reports. Day 1. Lisa and Jessica spent 6 hours at a spa. Kids left in the resort kids club with no check-ins. Day 2. Lisa posted a family beach day photo, taken for 5 minutes before she left the kids with a sitter. Day 3. Jessica was overheard saying, "Ugh, I needed this break from those kids." Every report fueled my determination. And then, something happened that nearly made me snap. One night, around midnight, I got a notification. Lisa had gone live on Instagram. I clicked on the video, and there she was, laughing, her face illuminated by tiki torches, a drink in her perfectly manicured hand. Jessica was beside her, giggling. And then Lisa said it. "Oh my God, I feel so free. Like, it's just so nice not having to deal with all that responsibility, you know?" Jessica smirked. "Yeah, well, enjoy it while it lasts. You're going back to being a supermom soon, right?" Lisa laughed. "Ugh, don't remind me. I swear, sometimes I just want to." She stopped herself, catching sight of the comments scrolling up the screen. People were watching. I exited the video before I could see more. I gritted my teeth, my hands clenched into fists. That was it. That was all the confirmation I needed. Lisa had never cared. Not about the kids. Not about me. Not about anything except how things looked. She had abandoned them. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally. But when she came back, when she strutted through that airport, expecting everything to go back to the way it was, she was going to find out that I wasn't the same man she left behind. No more being a placeholder husband. No more being the guy she could toss aside when it suited her. By the time she landed back in Seattle, her perfect world would start to unravel. And the best part? She wouldn't even see it coming. The house felt emptier without the noise of Ethan and Ava, without their laughter echoing through the halls. But it wasn't just their absence I felt. It was the weight of betrayal pressing against my chest. I sat at the kitchen table, my laptop open, files scattered around me. My lawyer had already begun preparing the custody case, and the private investigators' daily reports kept pouring in. Each one was another nail in the coffin of Lisa's perfect mother act. She had left the kids behind without even telling them. She had spent most of the trip getting spa treatments, drinking, and partying. She had barely interacted with Ethan and Ava, except for staged photo ops. But while she was living it up in Hawaii, Ethan and Ava were here with me, feeling abandoned, confused, and hurt. The morning after Lisa left, Ethan had barely spoken a word. He just sat in his room, staring out the window. When I asked if he wanted to do something, play a game, watch a movie, go to the park, he just shrugged. Ava, on the other hand, was more vocal. "Mommy didn't even say goodbye," she whispered to me as I tucked her in that night. Did I do something wrong? I clenched my jaw, my fingers tightening on the blanket I was pulling over her. "You did nothing wrong, sweetheart," I assured her. "None of this is your fault." She sniffled, curling up into a ball. Then why did she leave us? I took a deep breath, swallowing the lump in my throat. How was I supposed to answer that? How was I supposed to tell her that her mother had chosen a vacation over her own children? That her mother had spent the past few years pretending to be the perfect mom when, in reality, she only cared about appearances? "I don't know, Ava," I said finally, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "But I promise you this, I will never leave you. Ever." She nodded slowly, her small fingers gripping my sleeve. You won't forget about us? God. The fact that she even had to ask that. Never, I whispered, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. The days passed, and I focused on giving them the love and attention Lisa never had. Instead of frozen meals and takeout, I cooked for them. Real meals, sitting together at the table, actually talking about their day. Instead of handing them a tablet to keep them occupied, I played board games with them, took them to the park, helped Ethan with his science experiments, and watched Ava twirl around the living room in her ballet slippers. I didn't just fill in for Lisa, I made sure they knew I was here to stay. And it didn't take long for Ethan and Ava to start noticing the difference. Dad, Ethan called one evening while we were having dinner. How come you always eat with us now? I looked up from my plate, confused. What do you mean, buddy? I always eat with you guys. He shook his head. No, I mean before, when Mom was home, you used to eat in your office a lot. Or sometimes not at all. I froze. He was right. Lisa used to insist on family dinners, but only when she could get a good photo for Instagram. Most nights, she'd be glued to her phone, barely eating, while I got up halfway through to answer emails. It had become normal. But now I was here. Really here. I smiled at him, setting my fork down, because I realized I'd rather be with you guys than answering emails. Ethan smiled, his shoulders relaxing. Ava giggled and pointed her fork at me. You were a workaholic, Dad, she teased. I chuckled. Guilty as charged. But you're different now, Ethan said, tilting his head. My smile faltered just a little. I was different. Before, I had been too willing to let things slide, too focused on keeping the peace. Now, I was done playing the fool. Then, the real turning point happened. One afternoon, as I was folding laundry, I heard Ethan and Ava whispering in the hallway. Do you think Mom will bring us something from Hawaii? Ava asked. Ethan hesitated. Maybe, but she didn't even call to check on us. My hands stilled. Ava sighed. Maybe she forgot. Ethan scoffed. She never forgets to post on Instagram. That did it. That one sentence confirmed what I had already known deep down. They saw it too. They were only 7 and 10, but they were already realizing that their mother cared more about her online image than them. I made a decision that night. I was never going to let them feel forgotten again. Never going to let them wonder if they were important enough. Never going to let them question if they were worth loving. Lisa had made her choice. She had abandoned them. But I was going to make sure they never felt alone again. And by the time Lisa waltzed back into Seattle, expecting everything to go back to normal, she was going to find out just how much had changed. Because this time, she wasn't going to be the one calling the shots. The day of their glorious return arrived sooner than I expected. Ethan, Ava, and I stood at the arrival gate at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, the large windows behind us revealing the cloudy afternoon sky. The airport was bustling with travelers, families reuniting, and business people hurriedly checking their phones. But we weren't here for a heartwarming reunion. No, we were here for a reckoning. Lisa, Jessica, and Margaret had been off the grid since their little getaway. Not a single phone call to check on the kids. Not a single text to see if they were okay. The only updates I got? Their public Instagram posts. One showed Lisa standing on a white sand beach, drink in hand, captioned, "Vacation is a time to reset and remember what's important." Red heart. What's important? Clearly, not her children. Jessica had posted a video of a sunset with the caption, "Nothing like family bonding time in paradise." Family bonding time? The kids weren't even there. And Margaret? She had gone radio silent, but I knew exactly where she stood in all of this. As we waited at the gate, Ethan stood stiffly beside me, his hands clenched into fists. Ava held onto my arm, her little fingers twisting in the fabric of my jacket. "Dad," she whispered, "do we have to be here?" I bent down slightly so I was eye level with her. "No, sweetheart. But I thought maybe you'd want to see how they act when they realize we're not just waiting to welcome them home." She nodded hesitantly but didn't let go of my arm. Ethan, on the other hand, was angry. His small face was tight with resentment, his jaw clenched. "If she acts like nothing happened," he muttered, "I swear I'm not going home with her." "You don't have to," I told him. You never have to do anything you don't want to do. His shoulders relaxed slightly. Good. Then, through the glass doors of the terminal, I spotted them. Lisa walked ahead, designer sunglasses perched on her nose, her expensive new resort outfit flowing as she strutted confidently forward. Her long, manicured fingers clutched the handle of a suitcase I had never seen before. A new one, no doubt purchased on her little self-care retreat. Jessica was right beside her, scrolling through her phone, probably reviewing their best vacation photos to post later. Margaret followed, adjusting her pearl necklace as she whispered something to Lisa, her expression unreadable. They were laughing. Laughing as if they hadn't abandoned their family. Laughing as if they hadn't left their own children behind without a word. And then Lisa spotted us. She beamed, waving as if we were excitedly waiting to greet her with hugs and kisses. Ethan, Ava, she called, dramatically opening her arms. Mommy's back. Neither of them moved. Her smile faltered slightly. Come here, sweethearts, she tried again, stepping forward as if she expected them to run into her embrace. Ava buried her face in my sleeve. Ethan glared at her. We're not going with you. Lisa stopped dead in her tracks. What? She said, the fake enthusiasm slipping from her voice. Jessica finally looked up from her phone, blinking at the scene before her. Margaret pursed her lips but said nothing. Ethan stepped closer to me. You left us. His voice was hard, unwavering. You didn't even call. You didn't even check on us. You just left. Lisa let out a nervous laugh, glancing at Jessica as if expecting backup. Sweetheart, don't be dramatic. Mommy just needed a little break. But we're back now and everything's fine. Ava lifted her head. We weren't fine. Her voice was small, but her words hit like a hammer. We missed you, but you didn't miss us. Lisa's face twitched. Of course I missed you. I cleared my throat, stepping forward. You didn't miss them, I said calmly. You missed the idea of them. The props in your perfect little family act. Lisa turned to me, eyes narrowing. Oh, so now you're trying to turn them against me? Jessica scoffed. Classic Daniel. Always playing the victim. Margaret finally spoke. This is ridiculous. The kids are going home with their mother. That's final. Ethan stiffened beside me, and that's when I knew. This was the moment. I pulled out my phone, my thumb hovering over the play button. You know what's ridiculous? I said, tilting my screen toward Lisa. And then I pressed play. It was a video. A video of Lisa's Instagram live from Hawaii. The one where she had laughed about feeling free, about how nice it was to not have to deal with all that responsibility. Her own words, recorded and clear as day. Her laugh filled the air, sharp and carefree. Lisa went pale. Jessica's eyes widened. Wait, what? Margaret snatched the phone from my hands, her expression darkening as she watched the video. This is taken out of context, Lisa stammered, reaching for the phone. Daniel, stop being so dramatic. I took a deep breath, my hands steady. You think this is dramatic? I asked, voice calm. You haven't seen anything yet? Lisa's expression shifted, from denial to panic. She had no idea what was coming. Margaret turned to her daughter, her lips pressed into a thin line. Lisa, she said icily, get in the car. We need to talk. Lisa swallowed, glancing between me, the kids, and her mother. She knew. She knew she had lost control. Ethan and Ava clung to me as she hesitated, waiting for us to say something, to give her an out. But we didn't. Instead, we turned and walked away. Because Lisa might have returned home, but she was about to find out that she had lost her family for good. Lisa had always been a master of manipulation, bending situations to suit her version of reality. But not this time. This time, I had proof. This time, she had nowhere to run. The drive back from the airport was eerily silent. Lisa, Jessica, and Margaret had gone straight to Lisa's house. Our house, technically, but that was about to change. I didn't follow them. I had more important things to do. Ethan and Ava sat in the back seat, their emotions a tangled mess. Ethan's jaw was clenched, his gaze fixed out the window. Ava was quiet, gripping her ballet slipper necklace, the one I had given her before their mother abandoned them. You okay? I asked gently. Ava nodded slowly but didn't look up. Are we gonna have to go back with her? I glanced at Ethan through the rearview mirror. His small fists were still clenched. He wasn't asking the question, but I knew he wanted the answer just as much as Ava did. I exhaled, gripping the steering wheel tighter. No, I said firmly. You're staying with me, and I'm going to make sure of it. For the first time since the airport, Ethan relaxed. Ava's grip on her necklace loosened. They believed me, and I wasn't about to let them down. I spent the next 48 hours preparing for war. The private investigator had given me everything I needed. Photos of Lisa ignoring the kids in Hawaii while she partied with Jessica. Screenshots of her bragging about her break from responsibility. The video of her laughing about leaving Ethan and Ava behind. My lawyer had already filed for emergency custody. Lisa had abandoned them. She had publicly admitted it. And, legally, that was all I needed. The court date was set, sooner than expected. Lisa didn't even see it coming. The courtroom showdown. Lisa walked into the courtroom with her usual arrogance, wearing an expensive suit that screamed, "I am in control." Jessica trailed behind her, acting as if this was some minor inconvenience. Margaret? She wasn't there. That told me everything. Maybe, just maybe, Margaret had finally realized Lisa wasn't the perfect daughter she pretended to be. Lisa's lawyer, a man who looked like he spent more time in front of a mirror than in an actual courtroom, leaned toward her, whispering something. She nodded, then turned to me, offering a fake, sympathetic smile. "Daniel," she said smoothly, as if we were discussing a minor disagreement instead of custody of her children, "this is all so unnecessary. Let's just work this out like adults." I didn't smile. "You had your chance to act like an adult when you left your kids behind." Lisa sighed, shaking her head. "You're making this way more dramatic than it needs to be." My lawyer stood up before I could respond. "Let's begin, Your Honor," he said. And just like that, the battle officially started. Lisa's lawyer tried every trick in the book. He painted me as the controlling husband. He argued that Lisa was simply taking time for self-care, which all mothers deserved. He even claimed that Lisa had always been the primary caregiver and that the kids belonged with her. But then it was my turn, and I came prepared. I played the Instagram live video, letting Lisa's own words destroy her case. "Ugh, don't remind me. I swear, sometimes I just want to." Her laughter filled the silent courtroom. I saw the judge's expression harden. Then I presented the private investigator's evidence. Photo after photo of Lisa ignoring Ethan and Ava. Proof that she had spent more time at bars than with her own children. Screenshots of her texts bragging about her kid-free trip. Lisa's face drained of color. Jessica shifted uncomfortably beside her. The judge leaned forward. "Ms. Carter," she said, her voice laced with disapproval, "do you have any explanation for this?" Lisa opened her mouth, closed it. For the first time, she had nothing to say. The judge didn't even hesitate. "Full custody is awarded to Mr. Carter. Ms. Carter will be granted supervised visitation only, pending further review." Silence. Then Lisa's voice cracked. "Wait, what?" Jessica gasped. "This is ridiculous." The judge ignored them both. The gavel came down. It was over. Lisa turned to me, her eyes wild with disbelief. "Daniel, you can't do this." I stood up, fixing my tie. "I didn't do anything, Lisa. You did this to yourself." The aftermath. Lisa tried to fight back. She made dramatic social media posts about how I had stolen her children. But the truth? No one believed her. She lost thousands of followers overnight. Jessica deleted her accounts, disappearing from social media completely. Margaret? She never spoke publicly about the case, but I heard through mutual contacts that she had distanced herself from Lisa and Jessica entirely. In the end, Lisa's perfect image shattered. And I was left with something much better. Ethan and Ava. A new beginning. One night, after the dust had settled, we sat in the backyard, roasting marshmallows over the fire pit. Ava curled up beside me, giggling as she tried to fit a giant marshmallow into her mouth. Ethan poked the fire with a stick, thoughtful. "Dad?" he asked. I looked at him. "Yeah, buddy?" He hesitated. "Do you think Mom ever really loved us?" I exhaled slowly. That was a hard question, but I had promised them honesty. I think she loved the idea of being a mom, I admitted. But love isn't just about saying the words. It's about showing up. And I don't think she ever really showed up for you guys. Ethan nodded, as if he already knew the answer. Ava took my hand. But you show up, Daddy. I smiled, squeezing her little fingers. Always, I said. Always. And for the first time in a long time, I knew. We were finally free. The days after the custody hearing felt surreal. It was over. For years, I had been the background character in Lisa's carefully curated life. The provider, the caretaker, the man who kept things running while she smiled for the cameras. But now, I had full custody, full control, full responsibility, and I welcomed it. The kids and I weren't just moving on from Lisa. We were rebuilding. Lisa, on the other hand, wasn't doing well. The fall of Lisa Carter. I had expected some resistance from Lisa. Tears, outbursts, excuses. But what I hadn't expected, public humiliation. Lisa had spent years crafting a flawless image online. She was the devoted mother, the supermom, who did it all. But now, that illusion was shattered. After the custody ruling, word got out. A mom influencer account reshared the custody verdict, captioning it, "Another case of a mom who only parents for the camera." Heartbreaking. Former friends and acquaintances unfollowed her in droves. Sponsors pulled out of her brand deals. Her followers started asking questions. Wait, why did she lose full custody? Did she really abandon her kids for a vacation? This doesn't add up. Something's off. Lisa tried to fight back. She posted a long-winded sob story, claiming she had been blindsided by a bitter ex-husband who manipulated the system. But that backfired spectacularly. People dug deeper. Screenshots of her Instagram live from Hawaii resurfaced. The video of her laughing about being free from the kids went viral. The comments turned brutal. You're mad he took custody? Sis, you left your kids. You did this to yourself. Stop playing the victim. Motherhood is a full-time job. You wanted a vacation? Now you have one. Permanently. Her empire crumbled overnight. Jessica? She went completely silent. Margaret? She cut ties publicly, throwing Lisa under the bus with a vague, "I'm deeply disappointed in my daughter's choices." Lisa was alone. But honestly, I didn't care. She had made her bed. Now she could lie in it. Life without Lisa. With Lisa out of the picture, I focused on the kids. For the first time in years, I wasn't walking on eggshells around my own home. We started making real memories, ones that didn't need to be staged for Instagram. Weekends at the park instead of photo op vacations. Movie nights with popcorn instead of scrolling through social media. Laughing together, talking, actually listening to each other. Ethan, who had always been quiet and reserved, started opening up more. "Dad," he said one night, while we were playing chess, "do you think Mom ever really wanted us?" I looked at him, my chest tightening. "What do you think?" I asked gently. He studied the board for a moment before shrugging. "I think she liked saying she loved us. But I don't think she ever really did." I swallowed hard. "I think she loved the idea of you and Ava," I admitted. "But love is more than words, Ethan. Love is showing up. And she didn't show up." Ethan nodded, as if he already knew the answer. "I'm glad we have you," he said simply, moving his queen across the board. "Checkmate." I laughed, shaking my head. "You're getting too good at this." Ava, on the other hand, had been more emotional. She had nightmares sometimes, dreams where Lisa was there, then gone, laughing as she disappeared into the waves. "Daddy," she asked one night, curling into my side as I tucked her in, "is Mom gonna come back?" I hesitated. "She might," I admitted. "But that doesn't mean you have to go with her." Ava looked up at me with big, serious eyes. "I don't want to." "Then you don't have to." She let out a small breath, gripping my shirt. "Promise?" I kissed her forehead. "I promise." Lisa's desperate move. Of course, Lisa didn't go down without a fight. 3 months after the ruling, she requested a supervised visit. She showed up looking different. The makeup wasn't as perfect, the designer clothes weren't as crisp. but the performance was the same. "Babies," she gushed, reaching out for Ethan and Ava. "Mommy missed you so much." They didn't move. Ethan folded his arms. Ava clung to me. Lisa's smile wavered. "We're gonna have so much fun," she continued, forcing cheer into her voice. "Just like old times." Ethan narrowed his eyes. "Old times? You mean when you left us for a beach trip?" Lisa's face flushed. "Honey, that's not what happened." "You never even called," Ava whispered. Lisa blinked. "Sweetheart, I was busy." "You weren't too busy to post pictures," Ethan shot back. Lisa flinched. "And then?" Ava reached for my hand. "I want to go home," she said. Ethan nodded. "Me too." Lisa's expression cracked. "Wait, what?" "But They were already walking away. No tantrums. No dramatic goodbyes. Just two kids who had finally seen the truth. Lisa watched them go, her arms hanging limply at her sides. And for the first time, I think she finally understood. She hadn't just lost custody. She had lost them. For good. A new tradition. One evening, Ethan and Ava helped me set the table for dinner. As I placed the last dish down, Ethan looked up. "Dad," he asked, "can we still go to Hawaii someday? You know, just us?" I paused, then smiled. "Yeah, buddy. This time, it'll be real." Ava grinned. "Can we build a sandcastle bigger than Mom's ego?" I burst out laughing. "Absolutely." That night, we ate together. A real family, without pretense, without lies. And for the first time in years, I knew. We had finally won. Life moved on, but it felt lighter without Lisa's shadow looming over us. For the first time in years, our home felt like a real home. Not a showroom for Lisa's perfect family aesthetic, not a prop for her online audience. The kids were happier. Ethan had started joining after-school clubs, robotics, chess, even track and field. Ava was thriving in ballet, finally practicing because she wanted to, not because Lisa had forced her into it for the sake of a graceful little girl persona. And me? I was finally breathing again. No more tiptoeing around Lisa's moods. No more being treated like a paycheck with a pulse. No more feeling like an outsider in my own family. We had one custody. Lisa had been exposed. We had moved on. And yet, she wasn't done. I knew Lisa well enough to understand she wouldn't just disappear quietly. She had lost her perfect mother status, her online credibility, and her grip on reality. That meant one thing. She was going to find a way to fight back. And I was right. Because one day, she showed up at our doorstep. Lisa's last stand. It happened on a Sunday morning. I had just finished making breakfast, pancakes and scrambled eggs, Ethan's favorite. The house smelled like maple syrup and fresh coffee. The kids were laughing at something on TV, their voices filling the space with a warmth I hadn't realized I had missed until recently. Then, the doorbell rang. My stomach sank. I knew before I even opened the door. Lisa stood there, wearing an outfit that screamed casual but expensive. Designer jeans, a soft gray sweater, just enough makeup to look effortlessly put together. A performance, as always. But her eyes, they gave her away. She looked desperate, tired. Not the confident, self-assured woman who once sneered at me for not being ambitious enough. No, this Lisa looked like she was losing. "Daniel," she said smoothly, pasting on a fake smile. "Can we talk?" I folded my arms. "About what?" She glanced over my shoulder, as if she expected to see Ethan and Ava running to greet her. But they didn't. They didn't even come to the door. Lisa cleared her throat, straightening her posture. I think we need to be adults about this. We should be co-parenting. For the kids." I stared at her. "Co-parenting?" "Yes." She nodded eagerly. "I mean, sure, the court ruling was a little extreme, but we can fix this. I can have more time with them. You can have some breaks and—" "No," I said. Lisa blinked. "What?" "You don't get to rewrite what happened," I told her, my voice calm but firm. "You didn't lose custody because the ruling was extreme. You lost it because you abandoned your kids. You left them without a word, for a vacation, and only cared about coming back when you realized the consequences." Lisa's mouth tightened. "Daniel, don't do this." I tilted my head. Do what? Tell the truth? She sighed dramatically, rolling her eyes. Oh, come on. So I made a mistake. I was stressed. I needed a break. You weren't stressed, I interrupted. You were bored. And you didn't need a break. You needed an audience. Lisa flinched. She knew it was true. She lived for attention. When she got caught, when her online empire started falling apart, that was when she cared. Not before. Never before. She sighed again, softer this time. I miss them. For the first time, she sounded real. And maybe once, I would have felt bad for her. But not now. Now, I only felt relief that she wasn't part of their lives anymore. You miss control, I corrected. You miss playing the perfect mom for Instagram. But you don't miss them. Because if you did, you wouldn't have left. Lisa's expression hardened. You're really not going to let me see them, she whispered. They don't want to see you. She inhaled sharply, like I had just slapped her. That's not true. Go ask them, I challenged. She hesitated. I could see the war in her eyes. Part of her wanted to march into the house, to demand their love, to force a happy reunion for her own ego. But the other part? The part that knew the truth? She was too afraid to face it. Lisa straightened her shoulders. Fine, she snapped. Enjoy playing perfect dad. But don't be surprised when they start asking for their real mother again. I didn't even flinch. They already have their real parent, I said simply. Lisa's lips pressed into a thin line. For a moment, I thought she was going to say something else. But instead, she turned and walked away. Not gracefully, not triumphantly, just defeated. And as I shut the door, I felt lighter. Like a weight had finally been lifted. A future without her. That night, Ethan and Ava were sprawled on the couch, watching a movie. I sat down beside them, pulling a blanket over Ava's tiny frame. Dad? Ethan asked. Yeah, buddy? He hesitated, then said, Mom came today, didn't she? I exhaled. Yeah, she did. Ava yawned. What did she want? I didn't sugarcoat it. She wanted to see you. Ethan shrugged. Oh. Ava scrunched up her nose. Did she cry? I chuckled. No. Ava grinned sleepily. She usually cries when she doesn't get her way. Ethan snickered. I looked at them, really looked at them, and realized they were okay. Better than okay. They were happy, safe, loved. Lisa would never understand that. She would never know what it felt like to have real love, without conditions, without cameras, without an audience. But me? I had it, and I wasn't going to let it go. Ava snuggled closer. Ethan leaned his head against my arm. Dad? Ava whispered. Yeah. We don't need her, she said simply. I kissed the top of her head. I know, sweetheart. And as I sat there, with my real family, I knew. Lisa was gone. For good. And we were finally free. The weight of Lisa's departure didn't linger the way I thought it might. Instead, our lives moved forward, without her, without the staged perfection, without the chaos of pretending everything was fine. For the first time, there was peace in our home. It was a strange kind of peace at first. The absence of her constant demands, her passive-aggressive remarks, her need for control left behind an emptiness that took some adjusting. But it wasn't a painful emptiness. It was relief. The kids and I had settled into our own rhythm, a new routine that wasn't dictated by social media expectations or Lisa's shallow priorities. It was real. And as the days turned into weeks, I saw something amazing happen. Ethan and Ava flourished. They were lighter, more open, more at ease. The tension that had once been a part of their lives, the unspoken anxiety of trying to keep their mother happy, was gone. Now, we just existed together. No filters. No performances. Just us. A new kind of happiness. One evening, as I was cleaning up the kitchen, Ethan came up behind me, standing awkwardly near the counter. Dad, he said. I turned, wiping my hands on a towel. What's up, buddy? He hesitated, then blurted out, Can I have my friends over this weekend? It was such a simple request, but for some reason, it caught me off guard. Lisa had never liked having people over. She always worried about the mess, the noise, the disruption to her perfect aesthetic. The house was a stage, not a home, and anything that didn't fit her curated vision was unwelcome. Ethan must have noticed my pause because he quickly added, "It's okay if it's too much trouble." I just thought, "Of course you can," I interrupted, smiling. "I'd love that." His face lit up in surprise. "Really?" "Yeah," I said. "This is your home, Ethan. You should be able to have your friends over anytime you want." He grinned, nodding excitedly before running off to tell Ava. It was such a small moment, but it hit me like a ton of bricks. For the first time in their lives, they felt like they had a say. They weren't just props in someone else's narrative. They were kids, free to just be kids. And that was everything. Letting go of the past. Of course, Lisa wasn't completely gone from our lives. There were still supervised visits, court-mandated, but rarely attended. She tried, at first. Showed up twice. The first time, she was all fake enthusiasm, trying to act like nothing had changed. "Babies. Mommy missed you so much." Neither Ethan nor Ava ran to her. They sat stiffly across the table, answering her questions with one-word responses. I watched from the other side of the glass, feeling no satisfaction in the way Lisa fidgeted, uncomfortable with the silence she had created. She tried again the following week, bringing gifts. Expensive things, branded sneakers for Ethan, a diamond bracelet for Ava. As if that would fix anything. Ava looked at the bracelet, then at Lisa. "Can I trade this for the time you didn't call me?" Lisa blinked, her smile faltering. "Ava, sweetheart, You never called," Ava whispered. "You didn't even text." Lisa's face crumbled. She tried to reach for Ava's hand, but Ava pulled back. Ethan pushed the sneakers away. "We don't want gifts, Mom. We just wanted you to care. And you didn't." Lisa never showed up again after that. I think she finally understood. It wasn't me keeping the kids from her. It was her own choices. She had abandoned them long before I ever took custody. And now? They had moved on without her. A new family tradition. Months passed. Seasons changed. One day, as we sat at the dinner table, Ava looked up at me suddenly, her eyes bright with excitement. "Dad, can we still go to Hawaii?" I paused, setting my fork down. Ethan perked up. "Yeah, but, this time, just us?" I smiled, realizing what they were asking. They didn't want a vacation for the sake of pictures, for the sake of pretending. They wanted a real trip, a chance to make memories that belonged to us and no one else. "Absolutely," I said. "This time, it's our trip." Ava clapped her hands. "Can we build a sandcastle bigger than Mom's ego?" Ethan snorted, nearly choking on his drink. I laughed, shaking my head. "That's the plan, sweetheart." For the first time, Hawaii wasn't about Lisa. It wasn't about staged moments, about fake smiles, about a fabricated reality. It was about us. Just us. And I couldn't wait. The family photo that mattered. 1 year later, we finally took the trip. Ethan, Ava, and I stood on a sunlit beach, the ocean stretching endlessly behind us. No staged photographers. No perfect lighting setups. Just a simple photo on my phone. Ava on my shoulders, Ethan grinning at the camera, all of us laughing. "Take the picture, Dad." Ava giggled. I clicked the button. No filters. No captions. No audience. Just a memory that was ours. As I looked at the photo, my heart felt full in a way I never thought possible. We had found happiness. Not the fake, curated kind. The real kind. And this time, no one could take it away.